Welcome, all you podcasters, to the Indie Pod Daily Show. I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo, and my hair is looking like I need a haircut. Salons and barbershops are actually open now in Jersey, but I've been cutting my own hair. My wife's been cutting my hair. I think it's time I do that. That's one of the issues, I guess, with doing something daily is like you need to make sure it looks good and all. And today, maybe I just need to go back to putting these headphones on because it kind of hides it a little bit. That like it's not. I also need to shave. That's for sure. So anyway, in this episode of Training Tuesday. It's not Tuesday. It's Thursday. Training Thursday. I'm going to help our guest Luke Miller with his show Tile Money. Look at what he's doing, his podcasting efforts, see what we can improve upon, what we can automate, what we can make move the needle faster for him. This episode is brought to you by Indie Pod University. It gives you access to over 100 hours of podcasting resources, including this video you're watching right now. You get access to podcasting SEO stuff, website building stuff, tech, the microphone stuff, all like videos on pretty much everything. It's very rapidly becoming 6 years worth of curated content from all of the MapCon and Icon series of talks. So it's not just me telling you how awesome things are. It's also all of the Icon community telling you how awesome things are. And if you're watching right now from the Icon community, please drop in the chat where you're watching from, what you're up to today on this Training Thursday. This episode is also brought to you by me and Larry Roberts. If you have a podcast idea and you want to launch it in 4 weeks, go check out superjoepardo.com/launch, because in 4 weeks we will help you launch that show, figure out the content, plan for that show, and make sure that you do not pod fade. We both know what's up with pod fading, and we will stop that from happening for sure. Also, Saturday, June 27th, that's like in 2 days, Monetize Your Podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. It's a live, free, virtual conference right here in the Indie Pod community. Brett says do it. Yes, do it as in work with Larry and I. Yeah, don't fade. Yes, you don't because it's so easy to fade. Fade. Thank you so much, Brett. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being a part of the Icon community. Also, if you haven't heard, Icon 6 is live in the backyard. It's happening in this door right behind me here. We're getting a tent. We're getting porta potties, hand sanitizers, a maximum of 50 people. We'll be there, and we're selling live stream tickets. Go to indiepodcasters.com/icon6. And if you want to get awesome shirts like the one I am wearing that says podcaster, you should totally go check out youricongear.com to go pick up some awesome podcasting gear to wave your podcaster flag. All right, so now we're going to it's Training Thursday. I'm feeling it. I'm ready to go, especially after last night's Wisdom Wednesday with Chip Baker. I'm feeling pumped. I'm feeling like I'm ready to do this. So why don't we get right in? Let me introduce our guest on the hot seat today, Luke Miller. How the heck are you doing today, sir?
Hey, Joe, I'm doing great, man. I'm actually, let's be honest here. Can I be honest?
Yeah, of course. I want you to be honest. Please
I'm
be honest.
I'm not doing that well, actually. The AC, I'm down here in Florida, and the AC went out last night about 10 o'clock at night. And, it's still out, and it's about 10:30 a.m. It's warming up. It's getting about 85 in the house. We've got, I guess, a super heat wave coming from the Sahara Desert. They're calling it a sandstorm.
I heard about this.
I don't know how that
can't
happened.
get any weirder.
It's like, can we? Like, what are you going to throw at us next? And so we've got about 4 to 6 more hours before the AC people can come out here. So. I've been better, but we will prevail. Other than that, doing good, enjoying life.
We'll put. I hope you got some fans. I wish I could say I have a floor like barrel fan on the floor, just like blowing air at me. I'll send some of that your way, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Well, at least they can get to you today.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
You know, so
hey, first world problems, right? I mean, we can't.
Yeah. Dealing one day with a heat wave, but the Sahara thing, I had seen somebody post about that, and I didn't know if they were joking or not. 2020, man, this is. I was looking at somebody I hadn't talked to in a while. I was like, oh, let me look them up on Facebook, and I don't want to name a name, but so I look up, and they're like, it's January, and they're like posting like 2020. I'm going to see everything in 2020. It's going to be amazing, and it's like January 2nd or something they posted. Right. I'm like, well, that didn't age too well.
That didn't work out. Yeah.
No, it's just and not just for them, but like for most people, by and large.
Yeah.
What's up, Stacy Greenberg?
Good to see you, Stacy.
Yeah, I said the sandstorm is part of the plagues of 2020. 2020 is a crazy wild ride that we're all lucky to be able to hopefully survive it, and move on to the next. Hopefully 2021 is. So all right, so Luke, how long have you been podcasting for?
September 2018. So coming up on 2 years.
Damn, look at that. I love it. Love it.
Just over 100 episodes. Like I think I'm on 102 or 103.
That is awesome. Congratulations, man. That is awesome. So let's pull it up. Tile Money is the name of the show. Describe the show to me. What do you guys talk about? What do you?
Yeah, so the podcast is designed for ceramic tile contractors, installers. That's my background. That's what I've done since I was 17. So I've been in the industry roughly 20 years. And, it's designed to talk about the business of being a tile contractor, because honestly, us tile installers and contractors, we're really concerned about the technical aspects. There's a lot to learn as far as different tile. There's a lot of different tile to, be installed. Thank you, Tim. But we forget about the business of things, and our businesses are often like, flat prices to install are similar than to our father's prices. So a lot of different things on the business front. And I chose that niche. I chose that topic because I saw there wasn't a lot of people talking about it. And it was a need there. It was a pain point for my friends online. So that's why I chose that niche.
I think that is great. So how I see you have 62,000 listens. That's awesome. That is incredible for 2 years worth of putting in the time.
I need to update that. We're over 70 now.
Bam! Look at that. I'm just gonna break the bell today. That is awesome. That is awesome. So yeah. So that is super important in the fact that you're not only putting in the niche, but you're actually reaching people's ears, and they're saying yes, I relate to this. So that is awesome. For everybody else, how did you come about figuring out that I'm going to talk about tile business for 100+ episodes?
Right.
Well, that could be a thing, right? Like you niche in, you guys just talked about business or installer business in general.
Yeah.
Because that's but you didn't.
So I do have that entrepreneurial spirit, and basically to break it down, listening to podcasts really helped my business. But I was listening to all kinds of podcasts, real estate, general contractor business, but I never found one strictly for tile. In a couple years listening to podcasts, I never saw actually a tile podcast. So then I got curious to know how these podcasters were making money. At the time, I was listening to a lot of Entrepreneurs on Fire and Gary Vee. I listened to some of his books on Audible and things of that nature. So at the time, I was listening to that type of content, and I started researching how people were making podcasts and why they chose the niche they chose and how they actually made money. And everything I was learning actually pointed me towards niching down. Everybody said, with the internet being so expansive, your goal is actually to only talk to 1,000 people. There was that thing going around like your 1,000 true fans, right? Or 500 people or whatever. The number's kind of irrelevant, but find your tribe. And so when I was thinking about, well, my tribe, yada, yada, yada. And then I thought, what my tribe is and what I have experience, life experience and business experience is tile. And so then I thought, okay, a tile podcast, I think that could work. and then I had to condense it. I just started condensing it further. I said, what am I interested in? What am I specifically interested in talking about? Because that's part of it, you know? Mm-hmm. So I wasn't so interested in the technical aspects of it. And from being an entrepreneur and studying that, I also knew that I had to hit a pain point. I had to hit a pain point and solve a problem in the industry. And so that's how I condensed it down to this format of the business of being a tile contractor.
So I'm gonna guess there's probably not too many other podcasts in your niche, or at least when you started, there wasn't.
So many podcasts in your niche. Correct. There was actually no ceramic tile podcast at all. I was the first one. There was another gentleman who does podcasting. He was actually talking about stonework. So a similar, but I didn't find him. He was on a different platform. Since I started, we're friends. He's changed it to be tile and stone because that is, but he talks about generalities. He talks more about the techniques. And then there's 2 or 3 other podcasts. And I think just yesterday I saw a 4th one that are talking about tile or flooring. So very similar, but I'm the only tile business podcast still to this day. Oh,
okay. Wow. Well, I mean, that means you got you probably have the niche cornered, right? And so congratulations on that, because I think a lot of times it's hard for podcasters to really feel confident that other people are gonna fall in love with what they like. Oh, if I make it, I want to make it a little more general, because if I make it more general, then there's more people I can reach. But like, the fact of the matter is there's riches in the niches, and it's just the way it is. So have you been able to monetize this at all?
I have. I actually, so I had a business model where I was going to provide, it was a rough model. I didn't have it, planned out, but I was going to provide digital assets, digital tools to tile contractors, like websites. And, fast forward, I did do that, and I am doing that. And coaching and things like that. But I got early on, like after 3 months of doing this, I got called by the NTCA, which is the National Tile Contractors Association. They're the largest association for tile contractors. It's a nonprofit. And thank you. And they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, we see what you're doing. We see that it's a need, and we see the response." Larry, is that your podcast, or is that?
I think he's being facetious.
Okay, cool. So, smallest sustainable audience, right? And so that's how I actually gained. And what's funny, looking back, listening to Gary Vee, listening to different experts that over the years in podcasts, people said, just do it and do it right and do it this way, and you won't believe what will happen. People will start reaching out to you. And that's exactly what happened, Joe. Like, people started reaching out to me and saying, like, can we support you in any way? And I thought, I don't know. Like, I never thought about sponsors. Sponsors was actually the last thing on my mind, because I didn't necessarily think that would work for what I was doing. And I didn't know if I wanted that. But I have 2 sponsors for now. I don't know, probably 80 episodes have been sponsored. They've been with me since, thank you. They've been with me since like March of 2019.
That's awesome. That is awesome, man. And so what do those sponsors sound like? What's their business? Like grout or
yeah. One of them,
right? That makes sense.
Yeah. My biggest sponsor, they sell materials. So everything you need to actually install tile. So they've been with me, and then alongside them, the NTCA, which is a nonprofit organization for tile contractors. They actually unite tile contractors. They have a lot of resources. It's a paid membership type thing,
Okay, that's all. Well, that's great. So that means they have some money to be able to, kick it your way and continue to push it. That is awesome. That is really cool. So to go along with that, there's probably other sponsors that you could reach out to that, I'm sure there's other like what about the grout? Isn't there like a grout tool thing? Like, who's the company that makes the grout tool thing?
Yeah, there's all kinds of tools, and there's all kinds of, I have attracted other sponsors. Usually it's shorter term. Like somebody sponsored me for one episode. They're a big name, Schluter, and I'm in talks with a bunch of companies. A tile company who actually makes tile. They sponsored me for 3 months, and I think they would have continued if it had not been for COVID. I mean, COVID, they were already like not really, 100% sure if of the return on their investment. I mean, my one contact was really, supportive of me, but all these companies are older. Construction in general, they're not really in social media so much. They're not really pushing it. So I'm kind of dragging them along and saying, here's the value, and so that's one of the things we could talk about is how to sell the value of a podcast to sponsors that are maybe stuck in, 1990 or whatever.
Yeah, sorry, I had a spider on my
That's
on my cable there. So selling the value of this to somebody who's not necessarily right in the same industry. Was that your question?
No. Like they're in the industry. They're kind of stuck with magazine ads, traditional advertising, traditional stuff. And they're spending, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. For one instance, like we have several conferences a year, like every industry. And some of these companies will literally spend, a couple $100,000 to get their people there to build out the largest, space they can build out, really fancy, a lot of money. And like Stacy said, when that was, it was called Coverings this year, and that was canceled down in New Orleans. And when that was canceled, or when I saw it was probably going to be canceled, I started putting together a virtual conference, a virtual trade show. And like Stacy was actually in it. I interviewed Stacy, or she did a presentation along with a couple of designers. But I only had like 4 sponsors. I couldn't get anybody on board. They just didn't see the value for a fraction of the cost of what they're spending on traditional stuff. So they're willing to spend big money traditionally, but they're not willing to spend a little bit of money on a podcast. So that's kind of where I'm struggling with the sponsors.
So one of the, and I don't know if I'll be telling you anything that you don't already or haven't already heard, but like the thing about, podcasting is it's your voice, their ears, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an active listening thing, right? So you put something in a magazine and, it's just one page or one clipping in something that might just sit on like in the waiting room at the tile. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily going to hit the actual target that you're hoping for. Right. Kind of just like how a good example of that is like those daytime talk shows. What's the one with the 4 women and Whoopi Goldberg's one of them. I'm blanking on the name. But anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah, they have a huge viewership. But the thing is how much of that viewership that they're counting is in a doctor's office where no one's actually watching it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So. Yeah. They're counting it as, hey, we got people's attention because they're flipped to us. But the fact of the matter is, like, how many people are actually, like, everybody's sitting on their phone. When I go to a waiting room, I'm totally bringing I don't have my headphones here, but my earpods, right? Like I'm putting it, I'm just gonna sit there and wait until I hear my name called. Yeah. I'm not The View. That's it. I knew it was something like that. Thank you, Stacy. So it's an active listening audience. I mean, look, just yesterday, I was talking to a pretty big name in the podcasting community, right, and in the podcasting industry as a whole, because I was like, hey, I have, I'm looking to monetize this show, this daily, the Indie Pod Daily Show, and this is what I'm thinking. Like, this is what some packages I put together. And he basically broke it down and said, hey, look, I'm not really interested in the awareness. Is like, it's awesome that you got a big mailing list. It's awesome that you got, the social media is following. But like, unless that stuff's actively converting, the best thing that we have found is to put it in the podcast, because that's where people are actively listening, right? They're actively listening. And they're trusting. It's a no like trust thing. There's a good reason why I've taken this show daily, right? It's because I'm doing the conference and I turned it into the virtual conference, and I was doing it once a week, and it was cool. It was fun. We had a little bit of traction, but I was like, you know what? Let's supercharge it up. Like, bam, let's go faster, right? Let's go daily. Have different topics, bring different people on more rapidly. So Larry Roberts says that's very difficult to overcome. I've gotten as far as in-person meeting with marketing departments, and then I get stuck closing. I may need to work on my sales techniques. It's possible, but the thing is you should already be bringing that to the value of it to the table, and they should see it. So that it shouldn't really come down to your sales technique so much as like, hey, I have this listener base, and in your case, you're saying it right up front, 8,600 plus, which is probably higher than that since you said that you're already over 70,000 listens. Right. So and then this, 330 plus hours watched per month on YouTube. That's probably needs to be updated too, right?
They all need to be updated.
Right. And that's one of the things about those number things. Like, you constantly got to go back and re-update them. But that says so much about, like, okay, so if you're that means people are like actively watching your stuff, right? They're fine. I'm assuming a lot of it's through search. I don't know, how many subscribers do you have on YouTube?
YouTube, I think, is around 600 right now.
600. That's pretty solid. That for a small sponsorship deals like that, absolutely, especially because if it's definite to, there you go, 700. So there you go, 701.
There you go.
702. So I mean that speaks volumes to me, and I think that if you are having trouble with some of them, I think that all you really need to do is just keep looking for other people that are willing to that are willing to take. It's not even a risk. Like, it's that are willing to think outside the box. It's interesting that you say this, because recently I've started a relationship with kind of a brand new company. He's been in the business a while, but he started an online tool company. So he sells tools and materials online for tile industry specific. So I've started a relationship with him, and it's already kind of like looking like it's flourishing. It's going to go somewhere. So it's interesting that you say that, because so maybe just stop focusing on the people who give me a bunch of no's and start looking for more people. That's simple. Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, it sounds dumb. Like, it sounds like, oh, that's like, duh, right? But it is. And it's because it's easy to get hung up on the nose, right? It's easy to say, oh, well, I guess that's how everybody feels. And even for yourself, like, look, I've lived it where I felt like, well, why would somebody want to sponsor this thing, or like it's not big enough, or and then you get the shout out to Larry Roberts, like you get the paranoia where it's like, well, look at so and so, they're doing something that's like way bigger than what I'm doing. It's but I mean, in this case, you have one person who's not even really a competitor to what you're doing, and you already have a huge market share anyway. So
right.
So that's some super leverage, and you've been doing it for almost 2 years, right? You said, yeah. So I mean, that alone shows like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I get a bunch of listeners, and I assume you're not slowing down, or you're not having any trouble coming up with topics and things, right?
Yeah, the topics aren't an issue. The guests aren't an issue. Everybody kind of wants to be on it. I do have periods of slowdown where I get, sidetracked or something. That's the other issue, is like focus, right? In this business.
Well, and that's not just that. It's not just this business. It's everything, right? The shiny object syndrome is real. And, a lot of times it's easy to go and focus on like, oh, let me go update my website, or let me go and do this and dive down a rabbit hole, when like really you just need to do really the bare minimum. Because if you look at most websites that aren't professionally produced by somebody else, I assume you're doing your own website work, right?
So I have a partner actually who I partnered with, and we actually grew. He's a website designer.
Is that the Happy Tile guy?
Yeah. So he's a website designer, and so he designed this one. And then we sell websites to tile contractors through him. He does all that, and I just promote it. So
awesome.
Basically, I do some writing. I do some writing content. So so our business plan is like easy up front, but monthly payments subscription plan. So we can get guys in nice looking websites for a low price, you know. He built this site for me. Yep.
So okay, so this is really this is really great because for anybody that's watching, you know, this week we've been revolving a lot of the week around monetize your podcast, and like literally this is what we're talking. Like coincidentally, ding, this is what we're talking about today on Training Thursday. So, all right. So so do you have a media kit yet?
I do actually. I was wondering if you. I mean, I don't know. We can look at it.
Or do you want to share your screen with it? If I can't pull up on
it's not on the website, so I'll have to share my screen.
Okay, yeah, share your screen. Let's take a look at it. Let's dive into it.
It might take me a minute here.
No, go ahead. So in the meantime, you know, if you're, you know, when people are looking for how to, okay. In the meantime, Luke, is this what you're trying to do full time? Are you trying to turn this into like I host events, I do a podcast, like maybe I'll write a book?
Exactly. I actually am. It is my living, actually. Oh. So I moved. I left California and separated myself from that state and that business that I was running there, so that I could focus on this full time. And I am like, you know, the two sponsors, they do pay me a significant amount. It's nothing traditional, and I'm not complaining about that. I kind of need, you know, to get, you know, to the next level. Even
you want to go back to California, right?
No.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
No.
Well, it's just you need a lot more money, probably.
Yeah, I would probably need more money if I was to move back to California. So
yeah. Where are you currently living now?
Florida.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, this is a great state for that because there's no income tax. So
exactly,
you know, it's a good state to be in for self-employment.
It was one of the reasons we actually chose it. You know, to be honest.
I don't blame you. It's once my kids get older, I very well might finally turn in this house and move south myself. Awesome. That looks really good. All right, so let's scroll down to the second page.
Can you scroll, or do I need to do that?
No, you need to scroll. I can't. I wish they would add a way for me to control your screen. It would be, but this is really, I mean, for presentation purposes, not for.
Yeah. So the stats are all false. That's the last thing I need to fix here. They were just like generic stats, but I need to fix all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But you can see here, I put my brand collaborators. I put, you know, everywhere it's listened to.
You have a Facebook group currently, right?
I do. It's like over 4,000 members now.
Wow. That's awesome.
Thank you. And then, so I talk about the power of podcasts, kind of like what you were saying. I give a live shot. I was recording live at one of the events last year. Talk about the different things we could do together, services offered.
Okay.
And then I get into pricing, which, again, another little photo. So I'll pause here and let you read that.
Okay. Reading this, do you, on one of the previous pages, I'm going to say it would be awesome if you had one or two testimonials explaining like what the ROI is on, because I mean the amount of money you're asking for up front, which is totally understandable, and I don't disagree with it. I could see where people would be like, oh, okay, you know, if you're looking for 25,000, you know, it's not necessarily, it's not a bad deal, but like what's the physical like ROI there, right? Like,
so should I have people I work with have a testimony, or the audience?
No, the people. Well, maybe both, but I would definitely go for the sponsor testimonial. Like that's because they could say like, hey, when we sponsor this episode, we see a return. You know, we get, because I'm assuming you do some kind of like, hey, if you go to the tilestore.com slash tile money or TM or something, that are they tracking any of that with you?
You know what? I don't think they're tracking it, and I need to be tracking it.
Yeah. So so the way you can, I don't know if you'd be able to necessarily track their sales from it, but at least you could track people going to it. So you're using WordPress, I assume, right?
Correct.
So do you use Pretty Links at all?
I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you want to use Pretty Links, and the reason you want to use Pretty Links is because not only will you be able to you'll be able to create like, hey, go to, I don't know, what's one of your sponsor names was NT
CA.
National Tile CA. Like you'll be able to say, hey, go to tilemoney.com /NT. And that is how you get to their, like, you bring them to like their landing page, right? So now, and I'm pulling up my screen here,
sure,
so you can check out the Pretty Links in IndiePod. So with Pretty Links, let me blow my screen up a little bit, so I can see how many clicks and how many uniques there are, right? So it's an easy way to track, and you can just create like a short, like, okay, so I have like my, the kit, and I have it shortened to independentpodcastconference.com/kit, right? And if I click on that, I can change the link later. So like when I upload a new version of the PDF or something, I just have to change this link out, the target link. So that enables me to and Carrie loves Pretty Links. Yes, Pretty Links is, for being free, honestly they give way too much away. Larry Roberts is a great looking media kit. I would agree. If you have an audience testimonial, it should be related to sponsor getting a sale from them. Yeah, ding ding, right? And right, so that absolutely, Carrie. That is the testimonial that you're looking for on that end of it. But I would absolutely be looking for a sponsor testimonial that talks about ROI and what the value of being a sponsor of your show brings to them. It's because of that. So like that absolutely is a thing. So yeah, Pretty Links, totally free. You can pay for it though. I admittedly don't know the value of paying for it, because as far as I'm concerned, like if I click on Pretty Links and I go to, let's say, this one here, right? I can click on the StreamYard link. I can actually see like the wave of when people click on that link.
Wow.
And IP addresses.
A lot. Yeah.
So yeah, so you're tracking you get all that information for free. It's pretty powerful, right? Yeah. Right. So now all of a sudden it's like you can track who's going to your stuff, or to go into their stuff through your link. So it's just another way. And plus you can also start creating like those simple things like, hey, we're doing indiepodcon.com/virtual, right? So every time, like, it's always in that case it's always the same page, but when people go to join the call, it's always /join everywhere, and it takes you to where I point it to. So let me pull back up your thing. So I don't, for years worth of sponsorship, I don't think that's bad at all. Your company will be heard over 50,000 times annually. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty impactful. But again, without having a frame of reference for the ROI that will bring, it might be hard to swallow depending on the size of the fish you're going for. Right. Like if you're going for like the big box brand of tile people maker thing, that $25,000 is like nothing to them, right? Like, they might be like, oh, it's not $20,000, like that. I guess there isn't enough value there for me. Or they might even be like, it's not $100,000. There isn't enough value there for me.
Exactly.
It's such a weird thing, because at the end of the day, we're all just like trying our best to put together a package that makes sense at a price that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that you at least talk about like, building something custom up above, like, hey, I offer all of these different aspects to this. So what's on the last page there?
So the last page is contact info.
Okay.
With all my contact info, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only thing I do a little differently there is I think my name and email address might be on like a bunch of like somewhere like in the corner of the slides, and I could actually be mistaken. I could be mistaken. Let me pull it up and see if I might actually be
on
mistaken.
the footer of every slide or whatever.
Well, I think it's not okay. So it's not every page, but I think I have mine off to the side of the packages page. So it's like at least my phone number and my email address are right there on the side of that page. But other than that, I think it looks great. I think just get your numbers updated. Reach out to one of your sponsors, get them to give you and the only I would say, do you have a good contact at one of those sponsors? A friendly contact that like if you ask them that question, they're not going to be like, let me go find out, and be like, now that you mention it, and then you're looking down the barrel of not having it. In the meantime, definitely get Pretty Links and maybe start tracking that now, so you have that thing, so you can throw that in there. Like, hey, look, when I say a link, it's getting 10,000 clicks in a month,
right?
Or it's getting 10,000 clicks in 3 months. I mean, I don't know what. It's hard. Podcasting is hard, right? Because when you say something, people are mowing the lawn, they're driving, like they're doing something that they can't just be like, oh, hold on, let me just pause life and go to that link. But I will say this: when you hear the same message over and over and over again, and they know, like, hey, you go to use my affiliate link, or and it's tilemoney.com/ NTSC. Was it NTSC? CA. Sorry, NTSC is the TV standard.
Sure.
So that is an opportunity. Like that's when I go and look, like, oh, I'm going to go use FreshBooks, right? So I'm looking up LTT, which is Linus Tech Tips, because that's one of the YouTubers I watch a lot, and they sponsor him a lot. I'm going to go to that link, even though I've seen it from other places, but like, hey, I'm going to use his link because I really like him. I like what he does, and he puts out a daily video.
Mm-hmm.
So, on tech. So it's just one of those things where it's like, at least you have the opportunity to shorten up a link and kind of guide the traffic through your portal.
No, I'm definitely going to be utilizing that tool. Great tip. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
I think you're good there. I think you really just need to put those other pieces together. See if you can get yourself an ROI, even if it's kind of fugazi a little bit. Just something like, because like not fake, but just like they're off the cuff, right? Like from the testimonial, like. We don't need you to go diving into your books and figuring out, like, hey, when we sponsored this episode, we got, because it's hard to gauge that. But the fact of the matter is they're still sending you money, even if, regardless, right? They're still sending you money. So, to almost 2 years into the relationship with them, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Speaking of that, for anybody that's going to be watching the Monetize Your Podcast live free virtual live conference this weekend, the last speaker is Todd Cochran, and he's going to talk about his 15 years of GoDaddy sponsorship. 15, just like since the beginning of podcasting, pretty much. He has been sponsored by GoDaddy. So, So that's the last talk of the day, and I don't have it in front of me as what time it's supposed to happen, but I'm pulling it up now.
What day?
It's Saturday, June 27th. It starts at 9 a.m. Eastern. It's this Saturday. His talk is at 2:07 p.m., give or take a few minutes. 15 years of continual GoDaddy sponsorship. It's his story is I really like his story. And I asked, I personally reached out to him and said, hey, would you be willing to share your story, because I think it's so impactful for people to hear about how, hey, he just was getting started in the time when like nobody knew what a podcast was except for like the geekiest of geeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think go ahead.
On this page, do you like the way I've kind of broken it down here, or should it just, like, originally I just liked a lump sum or like a lump, hey, you're a sponsor and I'll put you in as I see fit, or should I break it down? Does this even make sense to you reading it?
So, I mean, so that's a great question, because I not particularly. Not particularly.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Not.
Well,
Not
that's
as
one
much.
of the
Like
things
the bottom one, the annual 25 does, but the sponsorship opportunities being above it, is that what you're doing for each of those things that's below?
Yeah. So in each episode, I would have like. So each episode has two 30-second sponsorship spots. Each episode has a 3-minute tile news and a 5-minute tile money tip segment. And then there was a 5-minute weekly bonus episode. So maybe I just need to take all that out.
Here's my question then. So you're getting 10 pre-roll 30-second ads and then 10 post-roll 30-second ads for 2000. So I was reading that as ADDS. So this isn't how many episodes do you put out a week?
One a week, I guess.
One a week, and then you do a bonus episode.
Well, I was, but I stopped doing it because I mean, yeah. So I stopped doing that. So I need to actually, I could add that in. I've actually been thinking I'm going to go up to 2 or even 3 episodes a week. I'm kind of been watching what you're doing, Joe, and thinking, I need to do more. And plus, I want to just get some more on the the backlog. Now that I'm using StreamYard myself, it's been funner for me. It's been more interactive with the audience, and it's easier just to go and interview someone. So
it does make it easier. Larry Roberts says, "While I'll be talking about podcast pipe dream and how it's much more difficult to profit from your podcast than you have heard." Larry will be speaking at 1:34. He'll be warming up for Todd Cochran's closing talk this weekend on Saturday. Well, first off, I appreciate that because that is absolutely the reason that I am doing that. Maybe add in a quarterly option. Carrie says, "Yeah, I would definitely offer a few extra pieces to that. Like here, let me share my screen. So this is still a work in progress because admittedly, it is very tough to figure out like the right formula as far as like the right mixture of like how much should I give in each thing. So on the combo packages, I tried to set it up so it's like, okay, it's $500, $1,000, $2,200, and $18,000 for a year. Now the thing with that is like I'm still trying to like, it depends on who you go and ask, right? Like some people want awareness, some people want conversions. If it's just like when you've done Facebook ads, I'm sure, right, Luke?
Right.
When you go to Facebook ads, what's the first question they ask you? What are you looking to accomplish, right?
Right.
So, which admittedly is very hard to figure out sometimes when you're trying to build a PDF and it's not interactive and you can't. Oh, I'll just take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Yes, right. Larry loves Carrie loves the Fortnite, right? Yeah, well, because it's a 2 week thing, right? 1 week blitz, the fortnight, the month, and the presidential year. It's I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure out the right mixture of like exposure versus like podcast episodes. And when you're doing it daily, you can turn through a lot. Because at the same time, like I don't want to carry sponsors for like months and months and months and months and months unless they're like, you know what, on one, like, okay, they pay me $1,000 and now I gotta like space out all these episodes with the sponsors and things for over the course of a year or something like that. I could do it, but I'm just trying to figure out like what's the best, easiest way to make it work for them, for them, for me. So it's a constant thing, but like at least this way they have the dollar or not the dollar menu, the combo menu at McDonald's, right? Like, I'll take a number 1, number 2, and a 4.
Yeah.
That's I try to do. So if you look up if I look up the other sponsorship kits, so like in comparison to how I have, I think this is the pretty link, and it's not the pretty link. Maybe partner. Oh God, I don't know what my I don't know what the okay, we'll go to VKit. VKit will be, so this is for the virtual conference, right? So these sponsorship spots are a lot cheaper, and I was able to include a sizable amount for a lot less money because of the nature of what it is and what I'm having to put in for it.
Yeah.
So, it's just, to me, it's what I was looking for was our podcast conference, like our Icon 6 package. I don't know where that is at the moment, but the idea is I had like multiple pages. So I had the package page, and then I had the a la carte pages that go under it. So like you pick a package, and then you go to the a la carte and say, oh, I want to sponsor the mic flags. I want to sponsor the food. I want to sponsor the bathrooms. I want to sponsor whatever. And you just create a package, like another block, like that. Now it can definitely end up being a lot. It just depends on what you have to offer, and what, how you format it, so it doesn't look like it's like, oh, like one package is a whole page. So when we go back and look at yours, the top is kind of like, I would definitely come up with at least 3 to 4 packages. And the reason the packages, as I'm sure that you probably know, is because you want people to take at least the second to third package, right? You're trying to price it so that they're like, oh, well, if I'm going to spend $100 anyway, because the hardest thing to do, especially in the internet world, is to get people to spend 1 cent. You get them to go 1 cent, then you can go $1. If you can go $1, you can go $5. You can go $5, you can go $10. Before you know, you're at $20, $50, $100. The sky's the limit. But getting them to say yes to just 1 cent is hard. So if you create at least 3 easy packages, that could probably break down some of the barriers that you're having there by saying, hey, I need $25,000. And are you allowing them to finance that at all? Or you're just like, I need $25,000 up front?
No, yeah, they are on a monthly deal.
Okay.
They're on
does it state that anywhere in here?
No, I don't believe so. I was actually hoping I could get some more lump sums. So, but yeah, they're on. I can accept monthly. Either way.
Or I would do quarterly, because I would definitely go because at that point you're talking like such a little bit amount of money that you're going to be chasing them.
Right.
Each month. So I would say if you're going to break it down quarterly, and that way if they stop paying for the month, 3 months, it's just like, okay, it's over. Like,
right.
I guess whatever it is, and that way you can keep the relationship going too, right? Because like COVID happens, all of a sudden they stop sponsoring. Right. Okay, I get it. It's totally understandable. We can either we'll pick back up when things get better, and you're not out money, and they're not out you giving them sponsorship that they isn't going to be as valuable to them at that time. I mean, this is kind of circumstances that aren't normal, to say the least.
Right.
But yeah, I would come up with a couple of packages. I think the 2 days of 2-day events and seminars, I don't know that I would put that on that page. Because it feels like you're talking about kind of something different. I think the live podcast with influencers though makes sense to be on that page. I think it's like a la carte kind of thing. And I think if you get the ROI testimonial, you get a listener testimonial of somebody who listened and bought into what they, because of that would be super powerful. And I think you fix this page up to include a couple, like a quarterly and maybe a half a year and then an annual. So at least they could, because people aren't as imaginative as us, Luke. Like, it's as hard as that is to believe. People are just not as they don't look at this and say, like what can I? Okay, 25,000. What can I do for 8, or what can I do for 7? What can, like, they're not looking at it, and they're looking at this and saying, okay, $7,500 for 10 bonus episode ads. Like, what does that really mean, and why is that so much more than the pre-rolls, and the post roll, right? So I think So yeah, I mean, whenever I'm doing pricing, the first thing I do, you know what? Let me see if I can pull up.
And then would you you think I should put this on my website, like a link to download? Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Once I have it polished up.
I mean, who's going to download it? That's going to like be your competition anyway.
No, yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's not like you're like, oh, I don't want competition to see it. Like,
it's funny. I don't really view people as competition. I actually, one of the other podcasters, I've interviewed all these podcasters that are in my space, and I actually sent them my thing, my media kit here just the other day, because he's like, oh, someone reached out, and he's like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, well, don't sell yourself short, because that's the last thing we need is to start, underbidding each other. I said, look, I'll just share my thing with you. So.
Yeah, I would say absolutely put it on the website.
Yeah.
I have it. If you go to like the virtual conference, right? Like it's literally the first thing up there is want to sponsor the conference.
Nice.
After the name of it, right?
Yeah.
So you click on it, you get the sponsorship kit. And actually, speaking of which, I think I can go to, if I click here for Icon 6, I might be able to pull up the. Yeah, there you go. Proper. I gotta move that up top. But if I go down here, this might have. Yeah, so this is like the a la carte page I was talking about. So you can sponsor the porta potties or sponsor the food at the event versus like here's the packages, right? This is how much we're charging to like this is the standard package. And if you want something custom, the last page I have is let's make some magic, right? If you have an idea, like if you are that creative person that we were just talking about that not everybody is, and you're like, I've never seen blah, 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 and how do we make that happen? Cool. What's your budget? Let's see if we can make it happen. So that's what I would say. I love your use of people and pictures of people, faces. I mean, it definitely speaks volumes.
Well, to be honest, I partnered with somebody for my last virtual event, and she actually made this for me. And so now my next question is, I don't know how to redo this or edit it. I'm not quite sure.
Did she send you it in like a PowerPoint or Adobe Illustrator, or she just sent you the PDF?
I think just the PDF.
Ooh,
I can ask her. I mean, she's a friend, so I'll ask her to send it in something that I can edit. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Power. I mean, I do mine in PowerPoint. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Okay.
You don't need Adobe Illustrator and like the fanciest editing software.
Right.
We're literally putting text and pictures together. It's not.
Right.
It's not rocket science.
Okay.
So you just need to put it together. So like what I try to do. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So what I try to do is I try to like figure out like, okay, how many episode numbers, what's the number of each view, what's the cost per view. So at least I have a baseline of like, okay, if I'm charging this is what this is worth. And then I can start to build the packages based around that, right? Mm-hmm. So I use spreadsheets a lot to try to figure out like, okay, if this is worth, 20 cents per open in the email, what would it cost? So you also got to look at it in terms of like if they were buying Facebook ads, right? How much would they have to spend to get there to to get the views and to get conversion. So you're trying to like figure, and I'm not professing that all my numbers are like the perfect, this is not the most perfect example. In fact, the person I sent it to was like, hey, like here's what I'm looking at. Here's how we, approach this. And now he doesn't approach it the same way as everybody else approaches it necessarily, but it's just a matter of like, okay, so if maybe I need to, listen, right? That's the number one thing you could always do is listen.
Right.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to get feedback on it from a viable source. Now, how do I go about implementing that, right? And I think when you're going into that sales call and saying, hey, what can I, here's what I do, and here's the media kit. The number one question you can ask is like, well, what do you think? What's your opinion of this? What feedback can you give me to teach me? Because obviously I'm trying to sell to you. I'm not selling to me, right? And I think that sometimes is the crux of like the sales can be so much more about listening and implementation than just like, hey, I got this pen and it's $20 and it's all you, right? Like, give them the pen. What does the pen feel like? How does the pen suck? Tell me, because I don't want to sell a sucky pen, like that kind of thing. So I would absolutely look at it from a perspective of like putting the numbers together, put a couple of packages together so that they don't have to do the math in their head, and let them tell you what they think, and then be like, oh, well, I can customize this for you if you or maybe come up with like a starter package, But the thing is, the crux of a starter package is that people have to hear a message like, it used to be like 7 times. Now it's like 20 sometimes before they actually want to like take action on it. But with that said, your audience is very specific of who it is. So the odds of them taking action is probably a lot higher. Though it's still probably low in the grand scheme of things. It's probably still a lot higher. So like instead of being like a 2% of people are going to go do something, take action, or less, 1%, 2%. I mean, it's probably more like 10 or 20 or 30%, but that's high, right? Like, you know, and as your numbers continue to grow, that's going to continue to bolster up as well. So, I mean, think about it. If you have, you know, 10,000 listeners and just like 20% of them take action, then that's potentially 2,000 sales.
Right.
Like that, right? Like,
right.
You just, you know, somebody's cashing in on that.
Right. Yeah.
So just got to keep it in perspective. Create those packages, and I think they're definitely on your way, man. That is awesome. You should be super proud of yourself.
Thank you. I am. Appreciate that, Joe.
Awesome. You're so welcome. So what else can I do before we wrap up here for you?
Yeah. No, that was very helpful. I appreciate that. I think, you know, I've also been considering doing, you know, something like what you're doing with a secondary group, where the virtual trade show, you know, it was 3 days long. It was kind of spread out. I mean, we had some great content, but I'm thinking of, I think it was on a platform where people weren't. We used Zoom. We used, actually, I told you we were going to use, what's the name of that software we used?
I think you did tell me that.
We used Hey Summit.
Yep.
And we used Hey Summit, and it ended out, you know, I mean, we had over 500 people register, you know, but we had, you know, people were confused, you know, because then they went to Zoom, and then I had actually a third thing involved, which we used for the trade booths. So now I'm thinking of just doing it the way you're doing it, inside a private group, 1 day at a time, like 6 to 8 hours, and focused on a subject. I really like that with you. It's focused on subjects. And so that's what I'm thinking of doing, is just focusing on one subject at a time, maybe attracting a specific sponsor for that. And Stacy enjoyed it. A lot of people did enjoy the platform, Hey Summit. I mean, it was a good platform.
The ones that get it, though.
The problem is a lot of contractors are on their cell phones, not a computer. So anything that's a little bit more works more smooth and is built for a computer, they're not really enjoying. They're doing billing and everything from apps on their cell phone now. So to ask them, then, you know, some of these guys don't even own a computer. So to ask them to do that is a bit of a stretch sometimes. I mean, the Zoom actually worked great because people could close their phone and listen, and that actually worked great. So I hate to lose that. I don't know if StreamYard has an option like that. I don't think they would, but so I'm considering doing the thing like you're doing. So I guess I'm not, you know, I don't have a specific question. I just want to, you know, thank you for, putting it out there. And I think that's my next step with the trade show, is to try that and see how that goes. And then, like you're doing, putting it behind a paid wall with specific subjects and stuff. I think that's my next step with monetizing. You know, kind of my feelings. I know we spent the hour talking about sponsors, but my feelings recently have been back to the audience, back to my original plan, because I am, you know, I have a steady income over here with the sponsors, and now I can focus on this and try to raise my income from the audience by providing them value and something I can monetize. So that's kind of my plan. So not really a question, but do you have any thoughts or advice there?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I know one of the things you said in the message that you sent me a while back, which I apologize that we haven't gotten a chance to talk to each other sooner.
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, heck, that was almost a month ago now.
Time goes.
You sent me like 6 questions in one message, so it's tough to be able to reply to all of that especially in line, because I can't reply in line with that. Or actually, I think they had that. I think they added that where you can reply in line. Oh, yeah, kind of. So yeah, I mean, I know you in the message you said like, hey, I spent all this money on like Hey Summit, which I don't know how much Hey Summit is, because I've never actually really looked.
Actually, Hey Summit was fairly. They have an inexpensive option. I actually picked up a temporary partner with that, and so they invested quite a bit of money.
Oh yeah, that's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad actually.
That is really reasonable.
Yeah.
So what I mean, so yeah, I think you had said that you had put in you had spent like a bunch of money and invested a bunch of time, and you're like
the time
that you and you didn't feel like you got the return out of it that you were kind of hoping for, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Look, I am very cheap when it comes to things. Like, how can I find the cheapest way? I mean, we talked about Pretty Links for how long, and it's free. You can pay for it if you love it and you want those services. Please send them some money. If I almost feel like I should should find a way to donate to them or something, just to send them a few bucks to say thank you for all of the hard work that they've put in to keep it updated over these years. But to me, like, I'm always looking for, like, how can I do it cheap? How can I, keep more of the money in my pocket, right? Because as the business owner, it's always about, like, how do I keep the money, right? If I'm putting out all the money for services and this, that, and the third, and like, oh, I signed up for this thing, it was like $50, and that thing's $25. I have this over here, it's another $20, and that's $45 a month, and that's $75 a month. Like, all of a sudden, like, all the money is just going right out the door,
right?
Where's it going to come? It just means that you got to do that much more work to refill for things you're not even getting your use out of.
Mm-hmm.
So like the reason StreamYard, because I can stream right to Facebook, right? And everybody knows Facebook. Even these contractor guys, they know how to get on their phone and check Facebook. So that it just makes it so much easier for when you use a platform like this, whether it's this or Restream or one of the other ones out there, where they're just going to something they know. Now, I will agree with you. It does stink that if you're playing the Facebook video, the moment you turn your phone off, you just lost the
feed. Yeah.
You just lost the feed. So that part of it does stink, but if you're delivering value, I mean, it's worth them keeping. I mean, the screen will stay on automatically. It's just they can't,
Well, and I think I think the point there is to record the content and then put it behind a paid wall. So even if you have a dozen people watching, you want 3 dozen to purchase the monthly subscription or whatever. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons we have the IndiePodU.com, not IndiePod University. Well, you can go to IndiePodUniversity.com, but IndiePodU.com.
Nice.
I actually just registered that while we were talking because I was reading it and I'm like, oh, I wonder if IndiePodU is available. I registered it, so it works now. Look, I want people to obviously the speakers own the content, right? They can take their talks, they can do whatever they want. As far as I'm concerned, it's kind of promotion for the logo's always in the top unless they cut it out. And that's on them. If they want to do that, then I'm not. They own the content. It's up to them to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm taking the content and I'm archiving it into behind a paywall so that if people want to support what's going on, they absolutely can and get access to hundreds of hours of resources. For literally just $10 a month. I mean, it's I can't make it any cheaper. Now, with that said, I do have a different arm to the different membership like a category, if you will, that will be coming out later. That will include IndiePodU, but at the same time, you'll also have access to like a whole separate Facebook group and a whole separate set of calls and like Q&A and stuff like that. So like these things will come. It's just a matter of putting it all. Oh, I froze. Apparently we froze. Did we froze? How did we freeze? Let me see. I'm going to Facebook now to see if we froze.
We're live right now.
Might be just Stacy. Yeah, I'm still showing as being live. I still see the video. Let's see. Hopefully. Yeah, no, definitely not frozen. So anyway, yeah, so like, but again, it all comes back to like, hey, there's this resource that starts at just $10 a month, and like it's all good now. Woohoo, great. there's this resource that you can get starting at just $10 a month, and that's the, if you want to just do the research and stuff on your own, like, it's all there. The whole library's there, right? The whole thing. But if you want curated stuff, if you want all that, like, there's a whole nother group that's gonna have to come about that, because that means it requires a lot more time on my part than just getting the videos uploaded and make sure they're tagged right and with the right, searchable stuff. And so there's just levels of it that, I think that I think it makes a lot of sense for you, especially if you're going to continue to do the virtual events or even in-person events. The in-person events you've done, did you do like a virtual ticket for it at all? Did you record them?
I recorded it with my Zoom H5. I recorded the audio only. It was It was a 8-hour in-person event.
Wow.
The other events are like industry events I just attend, but I'm considering doing some more in-person events with more training. So yeah, I would be probably upgrading to videographers and stuff for that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of the price in which you're going to charge for it. But yeah, like the great thing is you have it forever, right? Like, you have the video, the content is probably evergreen because it's tile. Like, I mean, there's probably different like chemicals and stuff change, but for the most part, it's still tile.
Right.
So that's, which is awesome. So I would say that at that point it probably is worth investing in a videographer and like getting everything clipped together, and then all of a sudden you could charge a lot more, money, because you're like, hey, look, this is actually entertaining to watch. It's engaging to watch, right? Versus like some of my, actually most of my videos are like a camera stuck in the back of the room, and it's videoing the whole stage. It works. It does the child. It has good audio, but it's nothing produced for sure. There's not multiple camera angles and anything. Nothing I'm sending to them that's like, hey, to the speakers and saying, hey, like, you put this in your speaker reel and make sure you put my logo up in there for you. Like, it's something to think about, but then you're talking about a lot more costs. And one of the things about if I've learned anything from doing MapCon and IndiePodCon is knowing what the market will bear, right, for content and all of that is there's just where people are. Like, there's only so much that they're willing to pay in most cases, and I'm there for most people. So it just is the nature of who I set my goal, who I set my flag into.
Yeah.
But Luke, thank you. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I hope to continue to inspire you and other people to take action and drive harder, faster, stronger. And thank you so much for being a part of the community, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. And thanks for doing this live coaching. It's been beneficial. I appreciate it.
Bam, look at that. I love it. Let's take it to the bank, man. Let's take it to the bank. All right. So, if you've enjoyed this episode of IndiePod Daily, the IndiePod Daily Show, please share it with the podcaster in your life. And go check out IndiePod University over at indiepodu.com. That's a brand new domain name as of like 25 minutes ago. And go check it out, because there's over 100 hours of podcasting resource videos, from podcasting SEO to headphones, how to better use your headphones. And it's not just me talking. It's not all videos. It's just Joe. It's all the talks from 6 years of MapCon and Icon events. So it is absolutely incredible. Social media stuff, like everything's there. You can go check it out. indiepodu.com. All the tags are there to check out whatever you want to see. Like, you just click on it and you can actually see how many videos are there in each of those categories and what the titles are, and the thumbnails, and decide if it's for you. If it's for you, there's a 7-day free trial. So go check it out at indiepodu.com. I like that new domain name. I'm glad I'm gonna do a little pound back. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that, Joe. All right, everybody. Tomorrow is Figure It Out Friday. Bring your questions to get answers to here. I don't have a time yet of when I'll be doing it, but I think my calendar's pretty open tomorrow. So I'm going to say probably at like 2 o'clock tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. I will do that. I will do Figure It Out Friday. Bring your podcast questions. We'll get answers. We'll recap the week. We'll talk about what's going on Saturday, which is Monetize Your Podcast. You got to be there. It's a live, free virtual conference right in the I was about to say in the Blueberry, right here in the IndiePod community. And you can be a part of it and interact with our speakers. We have 10 speakers that will be here today to help you, or Saturday, to help you learn how to monetize your craft. Everybody, I am going to get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow for Figure It Out Friday. Take care. Oh, wait, and remember, you are a podcaster, and that means you're a leader, and I want you to always think about leading with love. Take care, everybody.